Welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you about houseplant cuttings. We all like free stuff, and taking cuttings from your houseplant is a great way to make extra plants for presents for your friends and family, or just to make extra plants for your home. It's really easy to do, and in this video I want to show you the different ways you can take cuttings. Different types of houseplants need slightly different techniques, so I'm going to go through all of those with you in this video. I'll show you the different ways that I take cuttings, and before long you'll have plenty of new houseplants to give away as gifts, or even sell on the internet to make lots of cash to fund your houseplant hobby. So stay tuned and I'll show you what it's all about. So creating new plants can be split up into different categories. Firstly, we have stem cuttings, then propagation by division, and also propagation from offsets. I'll give some examples of each of those as we go along. But firstly, let's look at this Golden Pothos and stem cuttings. It's one of the easiest methods, and Golden Pothos is particularly easy to take cuttings from. All we're doing here is snipping off a section just below the leaf node, as you can see. And the leaf node is the intersection where the leaf meets the stem, and that's called a node. Now we can remove some lower leaves to make a slightly longer stem. And then all we're going to do is pop it in some water. So you can use a jam jar or anything you like really to fill with water. Pop it in. That's all you need to do. Now you're going to leave that a few weeks until you start to see some roots developing from each of the plant nodes there, and it will root very easily in water. So let's fast forward a few weeks and we'll see what it looks like. As you can see now, there are some healthy looking roots that have produced from each of the leaf intersections. You can see those little sections, that's where the leaves come out of, and that's also where the roots are produced. So once we have roots like this, all we need to do is plant it up into a pot with some multi-purpose compost. So any normal houseplant compost will be fine. The only thing to be aware of when we plant this is that the roots are going to be particularly delicate at this stage. So just be as gentle as you can with this stage. You don't really want to be firming the soil around the roots too much. If you can, just put some soil in the bottom and then try and pour the remaining compost around the base of the stem and around the roots. Just be gentle with it because you can damage the roots at this stage. And try not to make a mess either. My word. Nice one, Andy. So all I'm doing here is just putting the soil around the stem of the plant very carefully and not putting hardly any pressure on the actual plant itself to avoid damaging the root. Once you've done that, be sure to give it a good water in, and this does two things. Firstly, it will help lots of small particles of soil get into all the little nooks and crannies around the roots, and also give it a good drink because it's come from a water-based environment and it's going to be converted into a soil-based environment. So it's important to keep it nice and damp for the first week or so as it converts over into living in soil. So keep it a bit wetter than you would do normally for the first week, and then ease the water off a bit as it adapts. It's a very simple process, and before long you'll have a happy and healthy plant. So we're going to do the same again with a stem cutting. So we're going to do a stem cutting again, but rather than propagating in water, we're going to propagate it directly in the soil. So it's the same process. We're going to have a pot full of soil, but rather than spending a couple of weeks in water while it develops the roots, it's going to go straight into the plant pot. And the only difference is, as you can see there, we're going to put a healthy handful of perlite in there. Now this basically is a synthetic material which will keep the plant compost open. The structure of the compost will remain open, so that gets air to the compost and also stops it getting too compacted, because obviously as the roots develop they're going to need a clear root run to get into the soil and also get access to that oxygen which they need also. So plenty of perlite in there will help that. It's not necessary, but it's going to help quite a bit. So if you can get some with perlite in, great. Or if you can buy some perlite separately, then you can control how much you put in. And you can't really put too much at this stage. So now the perlite is added, all we need to do is plant the cutting. Once again, just be a little bit delicate, pop him in. Don't firm him down too much because you don't want to damage the stem, and give him a good water in afterwards. As I said, the watering helps get all the soil in around the stem of the plant and gives it as much surface area contact with the stem to give it a good start off in life. And of course making a mess at the same time. Standard. Simple as that. These are really easy plants to propagate. Basically, you can do it either way, and it's pretty much 100% successful in both ways. Propagating in water is quite good fun because it's interesting to watch the roots grow. The other things to remember is to keep the humidity and warmth up to begin with. Keep it out of direct sunlight, but also keep it warm and keep the humidity up whilst it is getting established. That's going to help a lot. Here's another example of some jasmine cuttings I took a few weeks ago. I put them in the outside of the pot where it remains the most moist for longest. As you can see, I've got a jam jar lid to the base of it to keep any moisture of the soil away from any surface you got it on. And then I pop the jam jar on top of the pot so you can match up the size of the jam jar with the pot to create a little mini greenhouse here. And this will keep up the humidity levels and the heat in the pot and enable the cuttings to get the very best opportunity to root straight away. So this is a handy little way to create cuttings. The only thing to remember is to take that jam jar off maybe once a week just to let some fresh air get back in and the moist air out, and take it off and put it back down again once a week is all you need to do. And within a few weeks, if you start to see new growth on the top of your cuttings, then you know that it has successfully rooted. But the longer you leave it, the more roots you will get in the pot. So better to give it plenty of time to develop roots. The more you get, the healthier the plant is going to be. So that's stem cuttings. Very simple. Next, we're going to look at offsets. Now, this is the bromeliad here, and as you can see, it produces offsets or pups from the base of the plant. The Tradescantia works in the same way. As I turn it around here, you can see at the base of the plant there is a small pup, and as that grows up, that will be another plant. So when you come to repot it, you can carefully remove that offset. Make sure it's a little bit bigger than this one here. By that time, there will be some roots that have grown, and you can carefully tease out that smaller plant and make sure there's some roots with it. And then you can plant it up in its own pot, and voila, you have a new plant. Nice and easy. Nature does a pretty good job of looking after itself, really. If you're not sure how to propagate the plant that you have, then you can always Google the name of your plant and then propagation methods. For example, you could Google Tradescantia propagation methods, and then you can find out if it's propagation by division, stem cuttings, or offsets like this. So here's an example of propagation by division. I've got a Boston fern here and I'm doing a repotting. And when you're doing that, you can actually take a look and you can remove a clump from the main base of the plant. All you've got to do is make sure you get some roots with it, tease out a little bit. Just like you see here, there's a leaf and there'll be some roots with it. Tease out a little bit, you've got a new plant. Simple as that. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for this video on making cuttings and propagation. I hope you found it useful. Please give it a thumbs up if you have. I really would appreciate that. Subscribe if you're new around here, and let us know in the comments if you've got some tricks for propagating plants of your own. It's always great to read your comments, and I do appreciate them down below. If you have any questions or if you're not sure about anything, you can also add them down below and I'll be sure to reply to them and help you if I can. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again very soon on another video. Bye for now.